Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel, and here's a headline from crypto media outlet You Today, which I think, by the way, is a missed opportunity. Perfectly fine, accurate headline, but missed opportunity. So here's what they chose to lead with. SEC tells judge that XRP cannot be compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum during hearing. But really the big news is that the judge in question here, her understanding going into today was that XRP has utility and it also has a currency value. Two things that the SEC absolutely disputes, which to me is pure nonsense, as we'll go here. But I also want to highlight there's some back and forth that happened today, which is covered in this article, which really also additionally illustrates the degree to which the entire crypto asset class is in danger. If this is the line of thinking they're going down, it is completely irrational and would result in no developers being to build anything on cryptocurrency blockchains if they're decentralized. Just because the way in which, let me just stop right there because I want to get into the nuts and bolts of it. But this is just the little intro here. So I do want to be clear that I don't have a legal background of any kind. I'm not offering legal advice. I also don't have a financial background of any kind, and I am not offering financial advice, and so you should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I just make YouTube videos about XRP and crypto and Ripple as a hobby because it's a good time. And because, frankly, I don't have anybody in my real life that will talk to me about this stuff. Nobody is sufficiently interested, even though a bunch of my friends own some cryptocurrency. I have a lot of family friends, actually, that do, but I don't think they follow it at all. I don't even know if they know that the Bitcoin they own has, in the recent months, run up to $60,000, but yeah, whatever. All right, so into this piece here. During a March 19th hearing, Jorge Tenrero, a senior trial attorney at the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, told Magistrate Judge Sarah Netburn that XRP cannot be compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum, refuting the talking points of Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse's legal counsel Matthew Solomon. Which, by the way, is funny because if you've seen videos that I've been putting out over the last couple days, there have been instances where I've highlighted that XRP, the way in which it's been distributed, the way in which it's decentralized, the way in which it has utility, there's so many important factors here that went into the SEC's determination that Ether is not a security, and XRP lines up so perfectly on these crucial points. And so it's so funny to me to see that there's this SEC attorney, Jorge Tenrero, disingenuously arguing that XRP cannot be compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Oh, hell yeah, it absolutely can be compared and is being compared and should be compared because there are a bunch of things that line up sufficiently that are actually really important to this case and really important to the idea of whether or not XRP today is a security. But here's what Brad Garlinghouse's attorney, Matthew Solomon, said. This was the SEC attorney's quotes. This is Jorge Tenrero talking about what Mr. Solomon said. Mr. Solomon tries to say that we are no different than Bitcoin and Ether. As Ripple's own lawyers told them, you are not like Bitcoin because you are one entity that has created these assets. That is fundamentally different. Ripple didn't create it. I don't know where that line came from. I don't know if this guy's just intentionally being disingenuous or has a misunderstanding of the facts, which either way would be terrible because he's an attorney and he should be well versed on what he's talking about here. But no, XRP was created before Ripple, the company, existed, and so that's not the same. You see, it's just the case that Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin and then just stayed in hiding. So yeah, and I bet you can bet your bottom dollar, the SEC absolutely would have gone after Satoshi Nakamoto if they knew back in the day who it was. Now at this point, by their standards, it's so decentralized it doesn't matter, but I am willing to bet. Because look, there was a previous SEC chair that said that Bitcoin absolutely could have been identified as a security. I can't remember the individual's name at this time, but yeah, Bitcoin would have been at the crosshairs, for sure. In fact, it was, they just didn't know who the hell to target. Anyway, piece continues though. Jorge Tenrero also called into question XRP's utility, adding that any of Ripple's efforts to create use cases for the token actually prove that it is a security. And I read that and I was like, what? That's the most illogical statement, nonsensical thing you could have to say, unless it is your sole purpose to crush the cryptocurrency landscape in the United States. And then it makes sense if that's your goal. But check out this quote. This is from the SEC attorney Jorge Tenreiro. "We dispute whether this utility actually exists, Your Honor." Actually, I'm going to stop right there. You tell that to the dozens of customers that are utilizing on-demand liquidity as part of RippleNet, which uses XRP as a bridge currency. You tell those customers that the real-world savings that they're experiencing, the actual utility that they're experiencing, doesn't actually exist. What in the ever-loving hell are you talking about? You cannot mean what you're saying here. You absolutely cannot. But you see, they don't want there to be utility because that weakens their argument from a legal perspective. This is completely disgusting and disingenuous. But anyway, his BS nonsense continues. Actually, before that, I have a serious question. Maybe you could answer this in the comment section below, because I'm sure some of you will have more knowledge about this than me. But is it an actual requirement when you apply to work at the SEC? Is it a requirement that you be an actual asshat? And if so, is it important that you put that prominently on your resume? And what are the qualifications to be an asshat? Is it just to be disingenuous and make up stuff and not be informed on anything pertaining to your professional career? Because if it's things like that, I think you just put that in a bullet point at the top. I'm an asshat. I don't really do my job. If something doesn't line up with reality, I don't like it. Then I just lie. I could see that being the case. But you guys let me know in the comment section below, because I don't really know how stringent the SEC is about their asshat requirements, but they're definitely out there. So anyway, I'll just start this quote over. "We dispute whether this utility actually exists, Your Honor. But the point is, even if it did exist, Ripple and defendants' efforts to develop a use for XRP is what makes XRP a security." And so both sentences are disgusting, but the second one is even worse. Think about that. If you have a decentralized cryptocurrency, this is what they're saying. If you have a decentralized cryptocurrency, and a developer comes along and is like, "Oh, this looks like a nice little platform to build on. There's a little native cryptocurrency asset. I'm going to go ahead and build something on top of it." And somebody comes along and does that, and then they find success and they get some traction. But bam, SEC says, "Oh, it suddenly magically becomes a security." What in the ever-loving hell is that? So does that mean that since Coil's building on top of the XRP ledger also, that they're making XRP a security? So it's a security of Coil. What about XRPL Labs? What about Forte? And so on and so forth. What about GateHub? That's a huge part of their business model. There's so many different entities out there that are building on top of the XRP ledger. That's what makes it decentralized and less of a security. What in the ever-loving... Do you guys see how nonsensical this is? And so from a legal perspective, since I don't have a legal background, I couldn't speak to whether or not this is a good tactic in the court. But even if just for a lay person, I don't care if you listening to this or not an attorney, it doesn't matter. Use your own logic. Does that make sense? Developers building on top of a decentralized blockchain makes it a security. That makes the underlying asset of that blockchain a security. That does not make sense. See, to me, one of the things that's been most appealing about all of this is the idea that there are so many different developers building on top of the XRP ledger, which really, to me, because here's what I've always thought in terms of long-term viability for a cryptocurrency, the more entities that are utilizing it in the real world for real things, the more likely it is that it's going to persist, which means that humans will continue to speculate it, and as more people enter the space, I think that in the case of XRP specifically, you'd get that store of value utility on top of everything else it's used for as a result of this. And the SEC says, no. The defendant's efforts to develop a use for XRP is what makes XRP a security. What the hell kind of upside down world are they living in? My God, freaking asshats. During Solomon's presentation, NetBurn asked whether having a utility distinguished XRP from Bitcoin and Ethereum, the two cryptocurrencies that the SEC doesn't consider to be securities. And here's the money quote. This is my favorite quote out of this whole thing because this is coming directly from the judge verbatim. "It might not be relevant to the issue, but it's important to understand." Actually, let me even stop right there. She's saying it might not be important. Understand that this is not the judge that's going to determine whether or not XRP is a security. She's not going to have a part of that. This is about Brad Garlinghouse's case specifically here. And so that's the reason that was stated. Moving on with the rest of the quote, though. "My understanding of XRP is that not only does it have a currency value, but it also has a utility, and that utility distinguishes it, I think, from Bitcoin and Ether Is that correct? And so it's nice going in that she understood that that was the case. And I'll say this too: there are a number of people, I saw this in my Twitter feed, that think that this is bad because she thinks that it's different. She's asking, her understanding at least, is that it's different from Bitcoin and Ether, XRP different from Bitcoin and Ether, which I fervently disagree with. And I think XR Patience here stated it very well. I came across this and I wanted to share this thought because it's in line with what I had to say. I had to think on this. And XRP Patience tweeted out the following: to the few people replying saying this isn't good for XRP, the judge said XRP has currency and utility value, the two very things the SEC is claiming XRP doesn't have. I swear some people are so jaded that even the best news sounds bad to them. And that's pretty well how I took it. And really, you know what, I'll tell you what, I'll just share this with you now too. There are a couple of attorneys that chimed in on this. And I both got the vibe from them that this is positive. So attorney Jesse Hines tweeted out the quote and then wrote, "I kid you not, this was a quote from Judge Netburn in the hearing in the SEC versus Ripple case today." And in addition to that, he wrote, "One thing I can say on this is I don't know what Brad is paying his attorney, but whatever it isn't enough. Brad's attorney is an absolute shark. I selfishly don't want them to win their motion to dismiss because I want him in the case long term." And it would be interesting to see how he continues to perform because he's obviously quite fantastic. But I totally get why Jesse would say that. But I am still absolutely hoping that this portion just gets dismissed. It'll be a little, to the Bitcoin maxis, it'll be like, now how y'all gonna act? Because they're not expecting that to happen at all. So, and I don't know if it will, but we'll just see here. And attorney Jeremy Hogan, upon listening to this, because he actually chimed in. Check this out, what he had to say. "I listened in on the discovery hearing with Judge Netburn, and OMG, that is the legal term, you have no idea how well that went, and not because she seems reluctant to let the SEC dig into Brad/Chris's finances. I'm so excited in a nerdy lawyer way. We'll have to do a video soon," which I look forward to, by the way. So this is all positive. I don't see why this would sound... I mean, I conceptually get why people would be like, oh, wait a minute, XRP different than Bitcoin and Ether? That's bad. The judge said that? That sounds bad. You got to understand this, too. So it's nice that this judge had an understanding that there's a currency value and utility to XRP going in. That was her understanding, and it's absolutely the case. But judges typically, when they're presiding over this stuff, it doesn't mean that they're more fluent than you and I in the crypto space. You're like, fine, we have no idea if we're not lawyers, or we have no idea from a legal perspective what's relevant, what matters, how to win cases, all this. Fine, right, that's not our background. But it doesn't mean that they're more well-versed on the crypto sphere than you or I necessarily. And the fact that this judge happens to not be aware that there is utility, although nowhere near the level of utility XRP has, for Bitcoin and Ether, it's unfortunate, actually, in a way, but it's not necessarily surprising. And so you can dispute like the long-term viability of, for instance, Ether if you want to, with the gas fees and so on and so forth. But even though most of the trading activity that occurs with Ether, it's pure speculation, there's a small percentage of people that are getting something out of it, and that does represent utility. It still doesn't mean that Ether necessarily will stay in power, but and I own Ether monies, like this coming from somebody that holds Ether. I just don't know for sure how that's going to pan out. And as far as Bitcoin, to state that it literally has zero utility, it depends on how you want to define that. Store of value, it's a form of utility. My beef with Bitcoin for a long time has been that why does something deserve to have store of value if it doesn't do anything else? And logically, that didn't make sense until you kind of put it in the perspective of what I've been saying more frequently on my channel, which is standards matter to people. And so the fact that Bitcoin was first, maybe that's enough to make it reasonable for the masses to say, okay, it deserves to stick around. It's getting adopted once the standard's in place. Sometimes it just, very frequently actually, just keeps going. So maybe that really is all it takes, even though it's technologically inferior to Ether and XRP, frankly. For the case of store of value, it doesn't need to be speedy necessarily. Okay, it's a huge energy waste. I get all the negatives about it, but I'm also long Bitcoin. I hold Bitcoin, so it's not me trashing Bitcoin. I'm just objectively stating facts here. So, you could argue then that XRP and Bitcoin and Ether, they do have utility. It's more so an argument of like to what degree. And so the judge was kind of missing that part, but getting some other things correct. And that's basically the way that I'm looking at it. So all of this matters, though. And I love that the judge said that and understands that. It's just so disgusting on the flip side, though, that the SEC says basically any developer that adds utility to a blockchain, that makes it a security. What in the ever-loving hell? No, that is stupid. I don't know how you could possibly believe that. You're just arguing it because you're going to throw everything at the wall and just see what sticks. That's what you're doing here, and I hate that crap. It really grinds my gears. But I'll go ahead and wrap up there. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.